physical environments that many of us have been used to for years have shifted. And so I've been talking about the extinction of stagnant workplaces prior to COVID. And as a company that's headquartered in Milwaukee, we have a beautiful office in the 3rd Ward, but we are uniquely positioned as a 100% remote company. And so, which we actually call it mobile, or because I'm British, I would say mobile. A mobile workforce, meaning we don't want people to think that they're isolated, remote, like a remote island. So we say, no, you're mobile. You can move around. You can go and interact with people where you need to. If you want to work from a coffee shop, you can. If you want to work from somebody else's house with them or another teammate, you can certainly do that too. But so this whole, how are you preparing for what's next? Some fascinating studies for those who've been forced into this remote workforce and the adapting of the different workforces desired by different generations has been a fascinating topic. And so I'm going to get some interaction from this group here today. I'll start picking on some of you in a bit, but I'll just get in. I'm going to share some stats because it's always good to show some stats at the beginning, but voluntary turnover has been on the dramatic rise over the last 10 years, just very, very consistently. Voluntary turnover, which is really, I think this is indicative of the different generations saying, listen, I am in control. I can take my career into my own hands and I have choices. And so that's a huge component. So the people have said the new customer is your employee. And so I know a lot of you know this, but the total US employee turnover, you can see how this is trending right now. Just on the rise. Employee turnover is going up. And we have this interesting dynamic that happened in the intersection of 2018 where we suddenly hit a supply and demand issue here in the United States. These are US stats. And so that's where the talent war, you heard everybody talking about the talent war, which is still going on right now. I know a lot of what I'm sharing, you just got to kind of go, well, that's not the case for COVID yet. I understand that, but you just got to be a little bit gracious with me. We're going to bounce back. I know that this is an interesting day, the day after elections, to be speaking on this topic, but there's a lot of unknowns. I get that. But the reasons for people leaving, massive in the voluntary side of career development, work-life balance, manager behaviors, job characteristics. There's so much in here about choice, not to do with comp, not so much to do with benefits, not so much to do with just kind of the normal things that you'd think of, but the people are taking it into their own hands as far as choice. So in looking at this and through the research to say, okay, what is going on here? We've heard about all the different generations and the gap in generations and the difference in generations in the workforce, 10,000 baby boomers a day retiring. What is this doing to the workforce and the work environments that we've been in? So some of the values by generation, it's hard to actually just lump a whole generation and say, this is what they value. It's almost like saying, well, if this is your gender, this is what you value, or this is what your ethnicity is, this is what you value. You can't do that as a sweeping statement, but there are some from surveys, the general concepts that would be more valuable to others than in other generations. So as I put these up here, and there's a lot of the reasons behind this, you can dig into that. Some of the baby boomers who their parents came through the Great Depression, and so security was a huge component. So you hear things, you imagine this in an interview, hey, we got a whole bunch of people who retire from our company. And a lot of people have been here for 20 plus years. Baby boomers saying something like that with a lot of pride. And so company executives, company owners, if you're a smaller business and you're working directly with an owner, the pride in saying, we have a lot of job security here and people retire from us. Now, you put that down to a millennial and say that to a millennial, they're thinking, huh? Retire from you? There's no way I'm going to retire from here. That's not attracting me. It's not a good magnet to say to somebody who may have a very different value system when it comes to employment. The Gen Xers with significance. I want my life to count. I want it to matter. and I want my job to matter. The values in my work environment, I want it to matter. If I can't see how it matters, it's very, very hard for me to give this discretionary effort. The freedom generation of millennials, and then Gen Z purpose is huge here. So I want what we do to have a bigger and a greater purpose than making widgets. And that is really difficult for a lot of companies, but you see that a lot of organizations shifting now to tying a greater purpose to what they do, as far as maybe it's philanthropic, maybe it's a give back component, maybe it's transforming communities. I know for our company, it's huge. Huge. You know, the generosity. We started a foundation, and it's been really motivational. We took the entire company down to Mexico in February of this year, built homes together. It was wild. It was very engaging for our team, but it took down a greater purpose, bigger purpose. So here's another fascinating one: the average job tenure by generation. And why this is important is, for most of you in HR roles, you're working directly with owners or executives who are not necessarily and primarily thinking about people strategy, to understand and translate to them the difference in the generations and what people value. But also, the right side of my slide is covered by another window. Interesting. Sorry, that's helpful. Thanks for telling me that. Let me see if I can. Is that better? I hope so. Okay, cool. So this is really important to be able to translate this to executives of the why behind it, and how we need to understand the people in our organization. So baby boomers average tenure at a company 7 years, Gen X 5, millennials 2, Gen Z 1, and then Gen Alpha. Now that's predicted because these are little tiny kids right now. So they are not hit the workforce, but understand the trend here. The temporal generation, the generation that doesn't have a high value of tenure, of stickability. They want freedom, they want options, they want purpose, and they are a generation that's grown up with a customize everything for me. Customize everything for me. So this is really important. It's important because we are over half the workforce right now are sitting in this millennial and Gen Z category. Half the workforce. And how that's shifting, you know, what is the future looking like? Is the future, Josh's last session, the keynote, but is the future more positive or is it more negative? For me, we're looking at our organizations. What does the future look like when it comes to people and people strategy? Well, I guarantee it's going to be less boomers. I don't have to be that smart to figure that one out. But what is it going to look like in 10 years' time? We're going to have a whole lot more millennials, Gen Z, and trending into these alpha gen, starting hitting the workforce. But Gen Z and millennials as well, I mean, they've grown up with the iPad, an app for everything, a customization of everything. Now the education system is customized. I have a teenage daughter who gets to choose what classes she's going to do for the semester, and she picks 1 to 2 classes for the semester, which lasts 1 month. The semester lasts 1 month, and then once that's done, she picks up another, chooses the next class, and she works her way through her schooling that way. And I thought, that's really cool. She gets the choice of what topics and what she's working on. That's amazing. Only problem is, some of you people in this room are going to hire my daughter. And she's going to have an understanding that everything gets customized for her, and she's going to hit the workforce and say, well, I think I came in for this job, but I talked to so-and-so, one of my colleagues, and we've decided to job share. We've decided that the stuff that I don't like doing, they like doing, and we're going to trade, and we're going to share our jobs. And we're going, whoa, no, the employer decides that. And they're like, well, why? Who put you in charge? I've grown up with customize everything for me. So big shift here in the way people think. Changing work. Yeah, exactly. There's these questions of customize everything for me. So I'm just commenting to the chat here. So one of the things that we did in 2013, I read this book, The Year Without Pants. I thought, great title. Obviously the concept here is this: you don't know if any of us are wearing pants right now. You don't know if I'm wearing pants right now, but I might not, I may be or may not be. But the whole concept is when people are working from home or remote, they get to do that. So we transitioned back in 2013 and said, all right, that's it. We had an office in Wauwatosa, just in Milwaukee area, and we said, all right, we're going to get rid of our office. We're going to have a training hub in the third ward, but we're going to be 100% remote or mobile. And so we shifted on that. Lots and lots of concerns that we had with this. And some of the classic ones, we're a talent strategy company, and 80% of what we actually do is help companies with their hiring. We do recruitment for companies. We build them passive candidate pipelines, and we're helping with I think probably 99% of the recruitment we do is 100% passive candidate recruiting. Okay, so the unique part about this is every time we work with a company and we say, okay, this critical search, does it have to be in your office or in your facility, or could it be remote? And for years we've had people, oh, no, must be present. They must be here in this office. They must be in our location. And the question then comes, we go, oh, just a matter of interest. Why? Why does it need to be that way? And the feedback and the response really interesting, and of all things that you probably may have heard of, just that kind of, we got to put their thumb on them. We want to make sure they're working. We want to make sure they're not doing laundry. I want to make sure they're present. I want to make sure productivity is there, blah, 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 blah. And now suddenly this year, we've all been forced into, a majority of us have to shift to a remote workforce. So I love this video clip. You've probably seen it, especially Rebirth at the beginning of COVID, as we're all having a laugh about the new work environment. But no sound on that. Let me fix that sound.
And what will it mean for the wider region? I think one of your children's just walked in. I mean, shifting sands in the region. Do you think relations with the North may change?
I would be surprised if they do. Pardon me.
That's right, carry on.
My apologies.
What's this going to mean for the region?
My apologies. South Korea's policy choices on North Korea have been severely limited in the last 6 months to a year.
I love it. I love the stress that this guy is going through, and we've all been there, right? I have a background on right now because I never know who's going to walk in. Apparently, I have a third grade school that runs in my house as well. So, but that's been an interesting adaptation of the work environment. So the big question of what if we went remote? I would love to actually know by show of hands here, but I have to show video panel sidebar. Let me, how do I do this? Okay, I would love to know if you can, by show of hands, and I know not all of you have your videos on, how many of you are going to remain in some way, shape, or form having a remote workforce post-pandemic? Okay, all right. My understanding is it's a very, very high percentage of companies who resisted it in the past and have now realized there are huge benefits, and they've figured out how to do it. And whereas we've in the past resist, and now we're forced into something, and now we're adapting and changing. So I find that stuff fascinating. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. From a talent strategy, I think there are huge benefits. But the choice has been taken away from us now, and now we've had to really see some things. I would love to know, what have you observed since going remote, since you've adapted in your workforce? And I'd love to see some of those things here. So I'm going to open up chat. You can write it in chat, just some of the things that you've observed. You know what? I'm going to pick on somebody. Cheryl Lucas DeBerry. You're one of the speakers here, aren't you?
I am.
All right, Cheryl, tell me, what are some things that you've observed in your organization or with your clients?
We have gone remote, and I'm a trainer here, so we've done a lot of virtual training. We had to, as our VP says, we had to pivot from doing in-person training to doing virtual training. So lots of moving parts, and people work from the office, they work from home, or we come into the office and do virtual training. So lots of moving parts, lots of differences happening now than it did 6 months ago.
Yeah, totally, totally. I'll ask, can I ask another person? This is going to make people not want to have the video on. Stella,
Hi.
what have you noticed?
I put in the chat, I actually put in the chat a couple things that we're not remote currently. I changed positions, but the previous job I was at a consulting firm, I think we did notice higher morale initially. I think people were really pumped to be working from home and have that flexibility. But we did end up seeing it kind of hit a plateau.
Right.
We had to take a step back and reassess how do we get engagement back. People were kind of getting zoomed out with all of the video calls. So we really had to refocus, and I think it's something continually that needs to be reassessed and make sure there's still engagement in it.
Yeah, a definite Zoom fatigue is a powerful deal. So anyone else? Yeah, Paige, tell us what you've noticed.
Yeah, hopefully you can hear me.
Yes, perfect.
Okay. I put it in the chat as well, but we've noticed, and I see people are responding to my comment here, that we've been able to establish more authentic connections internally and with our clients, because we get a peek into what's happening in people's personal lives. So in previous relationships where it was just 100% business and maybe even a little gruff at times, we now get to see the human side of everyone. So
yes,
that's definitely helped our relationships.
Isn't that amazing that we've gotten disconnected physically, but we've become more intimate and authentic in our relations. I find it fascinating. Michael Rampola, awesome last name. I like that. Oh, you're off mute, but I can't hear you. That's weird. One of the things we've noticed is technology issues since going. No, I'm kidding. No, all right. Sake of time, I'm going to pass on you. But if you can figure it out, that's great. There'll be more to come on that one. So there are a lot of things as we've gone through this shift of just observation, where we've responded to the situation. We've had to reimagine what the future looks like, and we've had to rebound and respond to that as well, and say, okay, what are we going to do differently? How do we bounce back from this? I'm going to take my video off the screen here. So we didn't skip a beat on this one because we've been 100% remote. So it wasn't a panic for us. We were like, wow, business as usual. I remember the first week of the shutdown, we thought, how do we serve our partners? So I just said, let's just do a webinar this Friday. And we just put it on LinkedIn. So we're doing a webinar on how to manage remote workforce. We had 650 people signed up without any advertising. I was like, what? It's crazy. You know, we do a lot of webinars, but there was a huge amount that bounced back. Michael, you say you're back? Go on, love to hear your voice. What you got?
We've been able to increase our capacity. Because we're always having folks come to see us, but we can just stack meetings a little bit better. And we've actually been able to take on some national clients for completely remote strategic planning sessions. So
good.
It's been great. And right now we're working with an organization that they have actually never met face to face. So we are also layering in some team building for them working remote. And we now become the opportunity for them to connect and build the team as they build the strategic plan for the next 3-5 years.
Brilliant. Same a lot of similar things that people are saying here. We have close to 900 clients, mainly in the United States. We definitely have some international clients as well, but we're hearing this through some of the survey stuff that we've got going on. But the questions that we asked, you know, what would happen if we went remote? And we've seen astonishing productivity, which was a counter to the argument that many of our clients had, saying, "Oh, not be productive. The people won't be productive. Oh, how are we going to have a thumb on them and make sure they're doing their work?" Well, performance management is a right opportunity right now. I'm speaking at SHRM in March, I think it is, on this topic of how do you do performance management with a remote workforce. because something that we love is a topic that we love, and we figured that one out. As an Inc. 5000 fastest growing company, who everybody has a number in our organization and they're just nailing it on their productivity, even in COVID season. So increasing retention, another powerful thing for us, seeing retention increase with employees, not just because of COVID, but employee retention as well. Decreasing in sick days, powerful as well. People able to work when they're at home. I mean, you think about it, when you're slightly sick, you might think, I'm going to protect the office environment, I'm not going in. You're slightly sick, you can stay at home and keep working. It's not sick enough to not work. You just weren't sick enough to not go into the office or go into the work environment. So it allows for increased diversity. So we have a team member, we have a few team members in Oregon, in Bend, Oregon, which is not a very diverse community on many of the dimensions of diversity that we typically look at. Okay, but suddenly, if our company was based there, we wouldn't have a very diverse workforce. It would become more challenging, let me say it that way. To be able to say, listen, we're going to open up to the entire United States. We can hire people from wherever, whenever. Wow, now it suddenly gives us a great ability to tap into more dimensions of diversity, nationally speaking. Prolonging career of older workers, it's obvious reasons that can happen there. Broadening the talent pool, huge. Reducing cost of employees by an average of $10,000 a year. I can give you all of the where some of these stats come from. That was from Forbes. And it benefits personal and family relationships. I understand it can also be a strain on them too. Many of you have realized during COVID, like, oh my gosh, I'm like, I used to go to the office, now I'm staying at home all day, every day. And this is like, you've got to put some boundaries in place, but there's a huge benefit to being more present as well. Boundaries are required, but there's huge benefits to being more present. Improving mental and physical health. Now, there's a pro and a con here. You have to manage this. As I was talking about boundaries. Boundaries are super important because you've suddenly invited people into your home, and we're in a very, very connected culture. So just from our phones and things like that, so for some, it was really challenging to suddenly invite people into their home, seeing their boss suddenly seeing into their living room. Like, oh, it's a bit vulnerable now, isn't it? And there's a authenticity, but there's also a vulnerability. You have to understand different people's behavior and personality profiles. So I think that's really, really important as well, to be aware of. Suddenly we hired you for this job and this environment, and now we're barging into your home every day. We want you on video. And like, well, I'm embarrassed about my home. You know, somebody might feel that way. And you think, oh, wow, okay, how do I help with that? So we just gave all of these different backgrounds and said, here are some backgrounds you can use. I'm using this isn't my real background right now. So I'm using backgrounds with our logos on, and you can have your marketing department do that. But really, really helpful just to think about different behavior profiles and personality profiles. But the increase over the last 10 years is dramatic. And I think for obvious reasons, the technology has supported all of this hugely, and then benefits the environment. I love protecting our environment and seeing that grow and be healthy. It's a huge benefit there. Some of the technology, this is a bit old hat. So old hat in the sense that we've all figured out what technology we use. We just real quick, we use an app called Ohana, which is like a safe version of Facebook for groups where people can share photos and likes and all comments and high fives and stuff. It's just a per person, per user, per month. And it was great just to stay connected, and we've used that for the last few years. The predictive index from behavior assessments have been beautiful, from coaching and management engagement, full transparency. We are a licensed certified partner to sell, train, and implement the PI or predictive index. That's been embedded in our really help from engagement. You understand very quickly what motivates and drives people, and you can get more authentic in your coaching with individuals. Obviously, we're on Zoom right now. We've used Zoom for years. It's been really, really helpful. We live on it all the time, and I definitely have some tips and tricks on avoiding Zoom fatigue. And then Amplify, great diagnostic and engagement platform, which looks about 17 or 18 different psychological drivers, has really helped us not have just that sort of the mental health and wellness and awareness of what's going on in our company. So one of the things I think is huge here is just kind of the where are you going and understanding the future. So Josh's session previous to this, talking a little bit about the future. What does it look like? Is it bright? Is the future bright for you? Now, for you and your organization, asking the question of what is the future of talent? What is the future of my workforce? What is the future of my work environment? Will there be more technology or less? Simple question. But then you go, well, of course there's going to be more technology. Okay, great. How is that going to affect us today? What do we need to start planning and preparing for? Or are we going to stay in the dinosaur age? And I don't mean it in a mocking way, but a lot of organizations need to start thinking about the future when it comes to talent and technology. Story that I love this story here. If you're writing things in chat, I can't see it. It doesn't show up on my screen, so sorry about that. I'll go back and look at the chat later. Oh, it would have been nice to answer that question. Blockbuster and Netflix. I actually carry, believe it or not, in my wallets, I carry my Blockbuster card. Where is my wallet? Who stole my wallet? But I actually carry in my in my wallet. Now I'm really concerned. Where's my wallet? I carry in my wallet my old Blockbuster video card. You're like, what? Why do you do that, Jonathan? Why do you carry your Blockbuster video card in your wallet? Partly because it's a great story and for illustrations like this. But I would have shown you my Blockbuster video card to say, proved it's here. It reminds me every time I see it to reach into the future and not be stuck in the past. The story goes that the executives of Netflix showed up in Dallas to the world headquarters of Blockbuster and said, this was 20 years ago, they said, hey, we got this great DVD mailing catalog. People can go online, they can click what movies they want. We send them the DVD in the mail, and then they return it 3 days later. It's awesome. The whole system's online. People can order, and then we ship them their DVDs. But when the internet gets faster, people will be able to download and stream videos. They're going to do that. That's what the future is. People are going to be doing this. And Blockbuster said, what? No way. We love late fees. We're not doing that. And they said, well, would you consider buying Netflix? Buy Netflix off us for $50 million. $50 million. Sounds like a lot of money, right? And in reality, it's just a mini sliver of the 200 and something billion dollar value of Netflix right now. And Blockbuster is no more. Actually, I think you've seen it. The last Blockbuster is in Bend, Oregon. And you can actually go and rent it out and go and watch movies in the Blockbuster and stay all night there. Airbnb did something with it. It's pretty crazy. But you think, whoa, that's a crazy story. Yeah, now apply it to us. Go, what does that look like from a talent perspective, a workforce perspective, a work environment perspective? Where am I stuck like Blockbuster saying it will never be, we're not changing, we can't change? And what is your Netflix? What is the area that you need to look into the future and say, how is our workforce going to adapt? How is our work environment going to adapt? So I read this just last week, actually, October 19th, 2 weeks ago, on the BBC News, because I'm British, so I read the BBC News. So the forklift truck drivers who never leave their desks. What the heck? Does that blow your mind? They are driving forklifts around a warehouse, and they're sitting in an office desk. And obviously my mind went straight away to, oh, good, my son's playing Fortnite is going to pay off one day. But no, my mind actually, yeah, forklift drones. Yeah, crazy, isn't it? But then my mind goes, okay, so they're sitting in an office at a desk. What's the future of that then? Are they going to be just sitting at home in bed managing this? How could they, what would that look like? Are they going to be running their forklifts from anywhere? So major stuff here for us to look at. So, all right, so I'm going to shift a little bit here because a part of the future of workforce, the big tapping into is performance management. Performance management is the request that we get asked a lot about when we shift to this. Now, many of you have had to hire people during the pandemic as we kind of went into freeze mode, and now we're starting to pick back up again and say, wow, do we hire people too remote? Like they're just going to hire, do they ever come in? Do we meet them? A lot of questions we get asked. So how does interviewing work now? Do I meet them or just do interview over Zoom? What does that look like? And then how do I onboard them remotely? And then how do I do performance management remotely? So the question is, why do we hire people? I know it's a bit simple, but I asked the question. As CEO of a talent strategy company, I asked the question about 5 years ago. Come on, I asked a leadership team, said, why do we hire people? And they're looking at me thinking, what, you don't know? I go, no, seriously, what is the point in hiring? And so, and then I asked the question, how do we define quality of hire? We did this through National SHRM survey. We put a survey out and we said, okay, how do you measure, what's the most important measurement in your hiring? And it came down to 3 things: speed, quality, cost. And then we said, okay, what percentages was quality? It was ridiculously high. People said quality is the most important measurement in their hiring. I was like, oh, great, cool. Then the next question is, where does the most pressure come from? Speed. Speed of hire is the most pressure. Okay, great. You said that quality of hire is the most important measurement in your hiring. How do you measure quality of hire? And for my definition, nobody had a good answer. Things like retention. So then it's like, sorry, you're saying quality of hire is measured by how long you can keep somebody? Like, so you could keep somebody who's really, really bad and you just keep begging them to stay and you keep paying them more money. Is that what you're saying? You could do that and you would still say, pat yourself on the back saying we've got great quality of hire because we've got great retention. And people are, okay, good point. That's not it. Things like hiring manager satisfaction was one. You think, okay, fine, quantify that for me. It sounds a little bit subjective. So we really got into this point of like, okay, if I'm going to be hiring people in the remote workforce, I need to get some things right here. I need to figure out how am I defining quality of hire? And so the speed, cost, and quality, the most important to your organization is defined here by the responses we got. But how are you actually measured by your manager was the big question. A lot of organizations didn't have objective measurements around quality of hire. How do I objectively measure quality of hire? How do I objectively measure performance? And so many positions don't have performance objectives tied to them. But what's the point in hiring people? That they get a job done. Nobody gets to go to their boss or manager and say, I need to hire somebody for my team. Great, what do you need to hire for? Well, I need to hire for culture. Sorry, but what do you want them to do? Oh, I just need a good culture fit. That's what I need. Like, no, it sounds like you need a friend. You sound lonely to me. We're not going to hire somebody just for culture fit. People say it all the time. We hire for culture. I'm like, really? What do you mean by that? Why are you hiring for culture? Why don't you hire for somebody to get a job done? Just to find the job. How they do the job is your behavioral values. The values that are tied to behavior. Okay, so that's kind of the culture, the minimum acceptable norms of values and behaviors really defines culture. And so when it comes down to why do you hire people? We don't hire for culture. You shouldn't hire for culture. Culture is a very, very important ingredient, but you should hire for performance. And it will be a showstopper every time you sit with a hiring manager and you say, what does the person need to do, achieve, or accomplish to be considered successful? And this is how we start shifting down to performance. And this, I'm telling you, this will be the make or break. This will be the Netflix versus the Blockbuster. Those who can perform in the shifting work environments. Those who can actually figure out engagement and performance of a shifting work environment. This is the shift from stagnant workforce to a very, very agile workforce. Remember the stats of the millennials and Gen Z, the tenure that they're staying with organizations on average. 1 to 2 years. So at that 2-year point or that 1-year point, millennials are saying, wonder what's next. I'm leaving for development. I'm leaving for stretch. I'm leaving to take on some new challenge. So, man, if I've only got you for 1 year, I better really get the max out of you. So what is the max out of you? I'm going to be really, really clear on what needs to be done, achieved, or accomplished in your time here. And every single time, every single quarter, I'm looking at performance management, what needs to be done, achieved, or accomplished. And this is how we're going to get a generation to stay dialed in and engaged. Tie it to purpose, but be really clear about performance, especially if they're going to be working remote. So how we look at things here, this is just a very, 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 very simple way of looking at things. We say that you've never hired a resume. Resumes don't show up to work. You may have figured that out. So when we say resumes don't show up to work, usually we hire people for what they know and we fire them for who they are. So let's just take a step back and say, okay, who are you? If I can figure out who you are, that's really, really helpful. So we say it's the head, the heart, the briefcase. Briefcase is a third of it. That's what they've done, achieved, or accomplished in their past, any education and experience that was really important for the job. Then the heart is all about value alignment. I think it's a way better terminology than culture fit. Culture fit can be this nebulous term, which is a bit also equates to hide behind like me, not like me. Culture fit, they're like me. I like them. All the bias that goes into that, the discriminatory stuff and the bias that goes into those things, affinity bias, all that kind of stuff, familiarity bias. But you say, listen, we've actually talked about value alignment. What do we mean by value alignment? What are our core values of the organization, and what are their behaviors that are tied to that? Okay, because if you're going to use some kind of a culture fit in your interview process, we need to make it as objective as possible. Hiring is not a science. We're dealing with people. We need to make it as objective as possible. So we're actually going to go back and say, what are our values? How do we define those values? And what does that look like in behavior? I bet most of you have integrity as one of your company values, majority. But I know I've traveled to 46 countries in the world. I know the definition of integrity changes wherever you are. And everybody has their own definition of that. Things like, well, that's a white lie. You're like, what's a white lie? You know, what's a white lie? You know, it's lying or not lying. It's tell the truth or not the truth. Like, well, if you're in an awkward situation, you need to get out of it, then it's okay. Like, really? Okay, so that's your definition of integrity. It's really interesting. At our company is to be honest, to be ethically unwavering, and to inspire trust. Inspire trust? How's that integrity? Well, it's our definition. We tied it to a behavior. Now I can interview for it. So if in an interview I say, great, Joshua, what are you doing? It's 10:30 on a Wednesday morning. What did you tell your boss you were doing right now? Oh, I just said I was at the dentist. Oh, really? Okay. So if I hired you and anytime you're going to the dentist, I'm assuming you're interviewing them. Is that a fair assumption based on your behavior right here in this interview? Like, pass, moving on. Well, it's not fair, Jonathan. It is fair. I'm assessing values and behaviors in my interview process. And why is this really important? Because if I'm going to be hiring you and you're not going to be under my thumb in a work environment, sitting in a cubicle or clocking in and clocking out, I better know that you share similar values to our organization, and they are behavioral values. And then the head, use some kind of valid psychometric assessment. And I say valid, legally valid for hiring, really, really important. Okay. I'm picking up the pace a little bit here. So when we look at engagement and performance, this is really important for the new workforce. It's going to be the biggest area in 2021 is going to be performance management. I'm telling you right now, if you're not hot on this, get on the train. I'm happy to talk more about this and how we do performance management and how we break it down for every position in our organization. Do we have a quality of hire scorecard? Yes, we do. I can tell you right now, what's our quality of hire defined by performance. We do it for our clients. It is beautiful, but get on board with this. It is the thing. You know where a lot of company executives for years go, eye rolling when it comes to the topic of engagement because it sounds foofy to them. Like, oh, really? Well, they want more beanbags and beer 30s, and they want potlucks, and they want to have gift cards handed to them all the time. Is that what you're talking about? There can be this kind of eye rolling that goes along with it. But when you talk about performance and increasing performance of company, you get a lot of executives going, okay, tell me more. Tell me more now. And it's tying performance and engagement. So we looked at this. We're always looking for these high engage, high performance. Those are your culture champions. Okay. The contaminators are your low engagement, low performers. We want to get rid of those. You want to get rid of contaminators. They're low engaged, low performance. But the problem in a lot of these things here is this. We don't know who the bottom performers are because we don't have a good performance management system in place. So, and then the grinders are your high performance, low engagers. They're not very engaged. You just think they just get their job done and they just plow it out. Like, I'm not talking about those people. Let them be. I mean, you can definitely work on that. But the ones that we really want to work on are these silent killers. People like them. They're highly engaged, but they're sucking the life out of your company because A players want to be around A players. A players are okay to be around B players, but they're not okay to be around C players. the people who show up all the time, every single day with a big fat smile on their face. And it's wonderful to be around these people. They're highly engaged. They just don't get anything done. They are killing your company. Okay. So silent killers, silent killers. This is going to be it has to be a big shift into the years ahead. This is your Netflix. Okay. And a lot of the big companies out there, they've got big data with them. Big company, big data. They've got mass amounts of data that they can shift and figure out what needs to be tweaked. But for a lot of us smaller companies, we just don't have the data. And so I'm showing you here like how to tie in data. So highly engaged employees are 80% less likely to leave their companies than their disengaged counterparts. All right, engagement journey. I'm going to talk about this right now. Let me just check the chat here and see how we're doing on time. Okay, cool. Great. Okay, so past informs the present. Okay, so what is someone's career trajectory? The job stretch here is the career trajectory. The past informs the present. People want to be known. So understanding where they've come from is really important, but it's not as important as where they're going. Okay, so where they are going is going to tie their engagement. And so job stretch is when 25% or 20% was the stat, people leave voluntarily for career growth and development. Is the reason they're leaving. You think, wow, okay. So if you've got 20% turnover in your company, break that down and say, why are people leaving? You're going to find a big chunk in there that are leaving for job stretch opportunities, career growth and development. Now that's a huge opportunity for you to manage leakage or loss. Okay, so they go for statistically at least a 10% growth opportunity, a bigger job. Okay. Is the stretch. The growth is trajectory. They can see the opportunity is going to take them on a better path. And then impact is the impact on the world around them. That can be all kinds of things, but they need to articulate that. Now, what I'm saying here is about people making career moves. Let's just apply stay interviews. Do you know this on all of your people? Let's start with your top performers. Highly engaged, high performers. Do you know what is the next opportunity for them? And is it written down somewhere, or does somebody have a plan for this person? Because statistically, if they're a millennial or a Gen Z, you've got them for 1 to 2 years. So why not break this down and say, we want to always prepare you for your next career move, and we hope it's with us. We want to prepare you for that move, and we hope it's in our organization. But let's be honest about it. I want to find out what the next challenge for you is and how am I helping you with competencies to get you there. The performance objective alignment is, what does this person need to do, achieve, or accomplish to be considered successful in their role? And just every single position can have a number with it. You go to Chicago O'Hare Airport or Milwaukee Airport, and on the way out of the public restrooms, there's a little button. There's a green button and a red button. And it says, how satisfied were you with the cleanliness of this restroom? Don't hit the button. It's disgusting. It's just don't touch that button. Not because of COVID, nothing to do with that. Just don't touch it. But the point of that is some service company, a janitorial service company, has a service level agreement with the airport that says, we're going to clean the restrooms. And they say, well, how will we know if you're doing a good job or not? Like, great, we'll put a little button there to measure people's satisfaction with it. That's it. We've measured a basic job, which is clean this restroom. Well, how will I know if you've done, achieved, or accomplished that to a standard which is acceptable? We'll ask people if it's acceptable. That's it. They put a measurement, a performance objective alignment around the goal. And that is very, very simple performance management. And then you've got to get it into a system. And I can show you how we do that as well. But and then measuring the head, heart, and briefcase, understanding the whole person. You can't just understand their resume. You have to understand value alignment. Why do they make the decisions they do? Why do you choose to stay at our organization? And if you were to leave, what would the reason be? We have this on every single one of our employees, and we teach our clients to do the same. Do you know what people, if you were going to make a career move, what would be truly superior for you? And it'll be fascinating to find that out for you as an organization. So understanding how people are engaged is really, really important, and dialing that in. And it's even more important when they're remote, even more important when you don't see them every single day. How am I getting this? Rest is a huge one. Do I have a feeling that I can take time off of work when I need to? Well, you work at home. What do you need? We're all rested. I've heard executives say that during COVID. People are burned out during COVID. People are burned out, and well, don't you work from home now? Yeah, I work from home, but I'm burned out. It never ends. I always feel like I need to give more and more and more and more. But understanding psychologically, safety, meaning, and capacity are the big three. Do I feel safe to be me? Do I feel safe to be authentic? Do I feel safe? Do I have the capacity? Do I have the capacity to do what's expected of me in my job? And is there a great sense of meaning in doing it? Meaning is one of the biggest psychological drivers right now, generationally, for them, over 50% of the workforce. Do they see meaning in what they're doing? So let's get to a little bit about connection and trust. I know it was covered here. Paige, you talked about it. This whole thing of authenticity. It's great. You nailed it right there. There is a greater opportunity for authentic relationships because we're being more intentional about it. We're not just kind of, how was your weekend? We're actually getting in there a little bit more. But keeping communication transparent. When you're going to remote workforce, there is a lot more unknowns. People don't get to hear and see what's going on. What are they meeting in the conference room? Why are all those executives in there? You don't get to see that. Like, you don't get those questions answered. So are people meeting? I don't know. Are they making big decisions about our company? I don't know. So you have to be even more communicative and even more transparent, which is really important. Getting personal. Be intentional. Have a system in place for getting personal. What do you mean by that? Well, you're in HR. You guys figure this one out. There are certain things that you want to be trained around, but you can train people to get personal. Train people how to be real with one another and talk about their family members. Like I said, I have a screen of a background on right now. But any of our internal company meetings, we make a choice. We just say no backgrounds. Like unless you really want to hide that thing, unless you know. So some people are like, I just don't want you in my background right now. But which is fine. I don't want you into my room right now. I've got laundry everywhere or whatever it is, So I get that. But we say, listen, we want that. There's one meeting a week where we say, hey, we're going to be really specific. Families are welcome. It's one meeting a week, and it's a company-wide meeting where we are transparently sharing things. And we go, if you want a kid on your lap, great, go for it. If you want to have your significant other and family members, your neighbors in there, that's great, cool. We want to bring in that personal component so people can as much as they want to. So we're pretty intimate for being 7 or 8 years now, 100% remote. I think it was one of the big shockers when people come into the organization. I can't believe how well you know each other when you never see each other. We come together as a company once a year. A big investment, but it's and those are pretty powerful times coming together. Technology, obviously, you have a lot of people go, we'll save loads of money on real estate. Maybe you're going to spend a lot of money on technology too, and you need to budget a lot more for that. And you need a budget more for engagement. You need to budget more for personal connection. So, which is really important. We were not shy about sticking somebody on a plane and bringing them to go and meet with a team and just with human connection. Like, you just put them on a plane just to go and have a meal? Yep, we do. It's really important for our people. Productivity over time. When you're doing the clock in, clock out stuff is really, really hard, okay? To start managing those things because we're in a time world where it's just all over the place. Some people are working in the evenings, etc. When you're working around the clock in different time zones, really, really challenging. So be really, really clear on performance. What does performance look like and get the job done? We call it, it's your job. Everybody has an it's your job number. That's literally what we call it. And then we have overachiever. So it's your job, and we celebrate it's your job. Overachiever doesn't mean those are our favorite people. We're just really clear on what it's your job is. So everybody knows where they stand. There is no fear in our company. There's no fear of fate. There's no fear of punishment. There's no fear. We don't have fear. We have very, very clear performance goals and objectives, and we celebrate the heck out of it when people get there. We try and get off of email. This whole kind of bombarding, we use Microsoft Teams as our platform. So we're just bombarding, hey, you got a second right now? And we just jump straight in, and you can see the little dot if somebody's available or their calendar's busy. And we just barge right into their room, videos in, like, hey, try and stay away from email, from communication, unless it's a kind of a big, broad thing. But individual communication, we try not to do that. Face-to-face connection. What? How do you do that? Well, we're going to make do with technology for now. Video. We're on video every single day, which a lot of you are as well. But then when any opportunity is of flying people in or connecting face to face, if you're local, just say, listen, Let's make the intentional effort to go and grab a meal together. And having a lot of fun. So these are some of the things that we're doing, and we're trending and helping our clients in some areas. But there's the line here: take care of your people or someone else will. I love Richard Branson, Sir Richard Branson of the Virgin Group of companies, of 240 companies he owns, a serial entrepreneur who's radically committed to a people-first culture. We put our people over our profits. But if you don't take care of your people, somebody else will. We are in a war. If you've got some high-performing individuals in your organization, people want them. They want to bring them in, and they want to grab them. I want to grab them. So here, I want to lead you through something here. Hopefully you can see this on my screen. If you're not familiar with QR codes, literally you open up your camera on your phone and you point it at this screen here. And it'll suddenly open up a web page. And you can fill out, and I'll make sure we send you this deck. I understand it is on the system as well. I can send you the deck, but also I've just worked out a deal with each of the companies of our engagement platform, which has been beautiful and brilliant for us, with taking the predictive index behavioral assessment, giving you a demo on that. If you want to understand anything about how we can help with some of your talent strategy, basically you put it in there. I'll reach out to you. We'll just get 20 minutes on the calendar in the next few weeks. But so you just point and click, you'll see it opens up a web page, and you can catch me there. So, all righty, I am going to shift here. I'm going to look at the chat. Any questions, anything that came up through here? I know I went fast at the end, but I want to leave some time here for any questions. Well, there's no questions. What's going on here? Did I not cover it, or did I cover everything? So, no, I love these topics. I love people. I love working with people. I think they're fascinating. When people say, "Oh, the science of hiring," I'm like, it's not a science. It's people. They're people with feelings and emotions, and they're dynamic. It's great. But I love figuring out the right person in the right seat and helping companies with that topic. We, as a company, Titus Talent Strategies, we're just under 100 salaried team members. We physically sit in 15 different states. Our client base is, like I said, it's about 900 now in most states of the United States and international as well, in all different industries. So we have teams that focus in healthcare. We have teams that focus in not-for-profit. We have teams that focus in engineering and manufacturing and service-based industry and technology. You can lump our stuff into hire for performance, helping people with their hiring and hiring top performers, and manage for performance, helping people really get management, which captures all of the consulting around engagement, retention, and development of team members. But I'm passionate about this topic. I'm sure I'll see you around on different circuits. I'm speaking in Green Bay in March on performance management, speaking every week somewhere. And I speak to companies, individual companies as well, if you have any events coming on, and you can go to jonathanreynolds.life if you want to capture me there. That's a website. Michael, you have a question, or are you just waving at me? You have two questions.
There's two questions in the chat, actually. I didn't want you to miss it.
Oh, good. Okay, is there any ongoing conversation around the quality of hire scorecard? Wondering if that's directly after hire, a bit after the person has started. Oh, good question. Quality of hire scorecards, yeah. So this is something that I've had a pursuit for years on in our company. I want to press a button and be able to go, what's our quality of hire for first year, second year, third year, and defined by performance. Yes, I would happily give you a demo. We have a technology and a platform that we've developed around performance management, and it is essentially quality of hire. That's it. It's a quality of hire performance management system. We did it manually in Excel for a long time. And then we developed the technology around that. So happily I can show you that. So, and do the little QR thing, and I can reach out to you about that. What was the other question, Michael? I don't know why you're in charge of helping me here, but you just
It's kind of this thing I do. If you look up the way, there's a question from Cheryl. Can you say more about the impact or importance of engagement and performance?
Engagement and more about the impact of that?
Yeah. Can you say more about the impact or importance of engagement and performance? And then Shelley has a question as well, which is, do you think the years of tenure will increase for the younger generations as they grow in their professions?
Ooh, okay. I'll tackle the first one, the second one first. So tenure. I think my prediction is that the gig economy is going to keep growing. My prediction is that there's going to be a lot more, there's going to be an increase in that area because we're training people to think temporarily from a very young age, that you don't have to commit to things for a long time. You don't have to wait for things for a long time. You know, we talk about the kind of the microwave generation when microwaves came out. It's like, whoa, I can cook a whole meal in 2 minutes. It's amazing. We want things very fast and very instant. So that's, I think that's not going to go away. It's going to be customized everything for me. It's going to be, and it's going to hit the workforce, and people will say, listen, I can take it into my own control. So that's going to be a huge thing. I think job sharing, even in the workforce for salaried employees, is going to be, why don't we just customize it? If we're really clear on what the output and outcome needs to be, why can I not share it? Why can I not jump in with somebody else? I don't think that's going away. And the other question around performance and engagement, highly engaged people I would define engagement as performance as well. We would merge those two together, engagement and performance. In our company, we don't go, what's their engagement? What is their performance? We would merge them through together. And we talk about the head, the heart, and the briefcase. If I can dial all of those in, performance of the briefcases, that's career performance objectives, hitting those,